So he starts off with a baby smooth face here, and then he tries growing it out. Like, he looks really young here. He tries growing it out, doesn't make pretty much any progress. This is like growing it in, and then he ends up going full board protocol and ends up getting to here. What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about growing a beard as a guy who can't grow a beard. If you're one of the unfortunate individuals who's not able to grow facial hair whatsoever, all hope is not lost. There are ways to intervene with pharmacology, interestingly enough, where you can actually circumvent either the circumvent your genetics pretty significantly. I did a video on this in the past called Are Minoxidil Beard Gains Permanent? And in that video, I'll put up in the card in the corner here. If you see the before and after picture of the guy, I'll put up the before and after pictures here. He was able to pretty much grow a very impressive beard from pretty much fucking nothing. Like, this guy had nothing to work with to begin with, and he just intervened with minoxidil for a relatively, like, not that long of a period of time. At least objectively to me, it doesn't seem that long. And then he discontinued it and still maintained his gains thereafter, which is very, very, promising for any individual who, may be interested in this but doesn't want to have to stay on it for life. Like, this is something you can actually use to make a drastic transformation and then maintain it forever, potentially, without having to stay on the drug. Now, is this going to be a lifelong thing where it doesn't eventually regress? I don't know, but so far, so good for him. And he literally used it for, I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a year or something. And then he stopped it for a full year and he just maintained everything. So this was another story some people sent me, including the guy who filmed it. I didn't even realize. But basically, this guy had a pretty drastic beard gains transformation. So this is what he said here: my beard transformation without beard genetics. And this is Max K Fit on TikTok. So he starts off with a baby smooth face here, and then he tries growing it out. Like, he looks really young here. He tries growing it out, doesn't make pretty much any progress. This is like growing it in, and then he ends up going full board protocol and ends up getting to here. So he basically elaborates on how he did it in this, and he actually sent me an email separately, pretty much detailing it in far more specific detail. So here he says 1 milliliter minoxidil 2 times per day, which is the standard dose used for hair loss too. That's 50 milligrams in a 5% solution is 50 milligrams per milliliter. Once in the morning, once at night, is pretty standard. Here he has the microneedling device. So if you've ever heard me talk about microneedling, you'll know very well at this point that it can literally double your results from minoxidil on your head, but as well, interestingly enough, on your face too. So he used a derma roller. Personally, I preferred the Derminator 2, which I link in my video descriptions as far as the best microneedling device I've ever used. It makes the process a billion times easier and is very accurate because it's literally a machine punching holes a million fucking miles an hour, and it gets it done in 10 times faster time period. And it's very accurate because the depth is actually calculated by a automated system rather than rolling a thing manually and, pressure determining how deep, how aggressive, how much you damage, how much you whatever, and it's far more idiot proof, and it's way faster. And it's just a very good investment, in my opinion, if you're going to be using either minoxidil on your head and microneedling to double your results, or using minoxidil on your face and microneedling to improve your results too. So he used a pretty standard one. These work too. They're just annoying as hell to use, and you have to replace them fairly often, and it takes way longer. It's very annoying to use these manual rollers, in my opinion, even though, yes, they are much cheaper. But it's like, by the time you've used this for a while, you end up paying the amount you should have just paid for a Derminator to begin with. Like, these things get very fucking annoying, and they take so much time out of your day that you literally could have worked during that time and made the money back multiple fold over by the time, if you're using minoxidil on your head especially. So anyways, he uses niacin too, which, I don't really think is overly useful, frankly. You get a bit of a flush with nicotinic acid, not the long, non-flush version, but if you get specific nicotinic acid, you're going to get that heavy duty flushing. How much of a difference does that make? I would say negligible, but maybe I'm wrong. But basically, he emailed me separately and he wanted to break down his protocol in elaborate detail. And he said, this is the original TikTok, blah, blah, blah. This is the one we just watched. The protocol he did was 1 milliliter of minoxidil 2 times per day. So morning and night, standard. He used a 1.5 millimeter depth once a week, which is pretty deep for, maybe not, but I don't know, like for around here, like I would be a bit like pretty careful with 1.5 millimeter depth. Like I don't think you really need that deep for your minoxidil absorption. Like 1.5 millimeters is like aggressive, like bloody head, what you do for like aggressive hair loss intervention. 0.5 millimeters every other day. Yeah, like as far as there's no tried and true way to do this for minoxidil absorption, but you know, frankly, I would probably pick one of these. I wouldn't do both of them at the same time. Like 1.5 millimeters once per week. You would need like a full week to recover, in my opinion, for the most part. And then 0.5 millimeters every other day would be the alternative to that potentially, but I would not combine both of them. But anyways, obviously it works because the more, like theoretically, the more aggressive you go, the more systemic it might go, which might increase your results. But it's like, I wouldn't recommend trying to encourage it to go systemic more than you really need to. Let's see. And I also don't recommend you apply minoxidil on the day you microneedle, because that will enhance absorption like too much, to the point where you're like literally introducing it into your bloodstream. So he took the niacin too. He said he was taking hydrolyzed collagen peptides, which both of those, like frankly, how much of a difference is it going to make? Probably nothing. He did salicylic acid face wash in the shower. After shower, wipe face with rose oil toner cleansing wipes. He uses our youth serum after, which is basically a hyaluronic acid serum to draw in intracellular hydration essentially, as well as some antioxidants and whatnot. It's basically just a very basic like facial serum. Apply polyglutamic acid serum. Has a strong synergy with hyaluronic acid for skin hydration. I'm not going to argue with that. I would do this twice a day. Minoxidil will be applied about 30 minutes after the skincare routine to allow some time for absorbing. Now, I didn't realize this guy was using PEDs too, but then he elaborates on his PED protocol, which is 25 milligrams of MK677 every day, which is very, very potent for whatever reason at growing hair. So my hair would notably increase in density, and the rate at which it grew was even more accelerated than when I use actual like synthetic HGH. Like I don't know why MK is so much better at it. Like it's not better at actually driving IGF-1 production and things of that nature, but somehow like the GH stimulation of actual like hair growth is next level with MK, like very dramatic relative to even high doses of GH, which is contradictory to what you would assume, but it's very, very potent at that. Is it going to be necessary to grow your beard though? No, and I wouldn't use it just for that reason. Like if you're gonna use it because you want ghrelin receptor agonism and other downstream cascades that come from MK, not because you're trying to grow your beard, at least in my opinion. That's why I don't use it for my hair either, because there are negative implications to long-term MK usage that I, not only from an overeating context, but from a insulin resistance context and other things that it's frankly not worth it unless you are trying to actually like drive some of those specific cascades, hunger, whatever it is, in an acute time frame or whatever it is for a specific goal, rather than it's not like a long-term drug that should just be a background player, because it's going to lead to issues, in my opinion, down the line. But yes, it's very, very good at what it does, at least for its intended use. 500 milligrams of test per week and 350 trend per week. So it's like, how much is that going to encourage your beard to grow? You could argue that the majority of the progress came from this and it totally discredits his entire experiment, but I'm just using this as an example of a before and after. I'm not saying you should do the PED protocol, but I've seen more than enough times now that this protocol is taking guys from baby face to like not Wolverine, but like pretty fucking good beards. Like guys you would think are like decently genetically blessed to grow beards that previously had like pitiful beards, like non-existent. So, you know, the 90% of the weight was pulled by the minoxidil and microneedling in this experiment. I can nearly guarantee it. How much is test and trend going to impact your facial hair development? Like, yeah, androgens are going to drive facial and body hair. Yeah, that's true. But it's not going to literally take you from like a baby face to being able to grow a full beard. Like that simply does not happen, even with heavily androgenic compounds. I never grew like ridiculously more facial hair than I do now on literally like therapeutic replacement. Like I just don't. Even with like nuke DHT, I notice a difference in my back hair, but like even my facial hair and stuff, it doesn't make that much of a difference. I've literally done an experiment where I used 1 milligram of dutasteride per day, nuked my DHT to 0, and I still grew facial hair like very, very easily. It didn't make that much of a difference. So how much is super physiological amounts of androgens going to drive changes from literally like bare fucking baby ass to like, you know, Wolverine status. Like not that much, dude. Like the change here is like 80 to 90% minoxidil and microneedling. I can almost guarantee you that. So he says, obviously the androgens and elevated HGH, IGF-1 levels synergize with the beard growth protocol and increase the speed of the transformation. Yeah, probably a little bit, but I mean, at the end of the day, the main thing here that I'm trying to touch on is the drastic difference that minoxidil can make, not only in a hair growth context, but on a facial hair growth context. And then the microneedling, which is a heavily overlooked dark horse thing that can literally double your results either on your head or on your face, wherever you are using it. So definitely something to look into if you are somebody who either A, is looking for a very potent growth stimulant for your hair because of your hair loss, and hopefully you've addressed DHT and or androgens ahead of time, because just using a growth stimulant on its own is not going to be sufficient to stave off further loss. But anyways, that's a video that I've done many times in the past in my hair loss playlist. Just check that out if you're interested in what I'm talking about. But it's the most aggressive and has the most efficacy of any growth stimulant on the planet right now. Like there's nothing else that is going to beat topical minoxidil plus microneedling, unless you maybe want to look at like minoxidil sulfate, if that is even a viable therapy. But for people who don't have sufficient sulfotransferase enzyme activity. But anyways, for the majority of people, straight up minoxidil twice a day, maybe even once a day would be sufficient for most people, with microneedling once a week at 1.5 millimeter depth. Not applying minoxidil on the day you use it is like the best growth stimulant you can use. That's cost effective, works extremely well tolerated by pretty much everyone. Just a great overall strategy. And as far as on your face, same thing, dude. It's very, very potent at what it does. So I just want to bring that to your attention in case maybe you missed my first video on the minoxidil beard transformation. But like literally, guys, like I've seen it make drastic before and afters, and there are even like groups on the internet dedicated to minoxidil and microneedling just for this specific purpose. So it worked for this guy and it's worked for thousands of other people. I don't necessarily like suggest doing it for everyone. Like it's not like if you don't want more facial hair growth, like frankly, I don't want it anymore. I wouldn't even want to do this. And I don't respond that well to minoxidil anyways. Like I would be using it on my head if I was going to use it anywhere. But some people want that like hella bushy ass beard. They want that volume. They want that heavy duty shit that most people cannot grow genetically. And this can help get there very, very significantly. It is going to be the biggest needle mover when it comes to facial hair growth using pharmacology. So yeah, if you're interested, I will put the microneedling device down that I use. Otherwise, if you want the cost effective one, just literally go to Amazon, type in derma roller, microneedling, or whatever it is, probably just derma roller, and you'll find like a $5 one that'll last you like a decent amount of time. Make sure you sterilize it, you know, after you, if you draw blood and whatnot. You don't want to be overusing the same thing that has bacteria buildup on it, obviously. But anyways, the Derminator 2, I highly recommend if you are planning on doing this for your head, especially long term. And then the minoxidil, obviously the most cost effective one is Kirkland, the generic one off Amazon. You can get a 6-month supply for like 40 bucks or something like that, or you can get it at local Costco or whatever. If you want the non-greasy version, this is like the fastest drying non-greasy, like high quality one that I found. I'll put that in the video description below. This is what I recommend for people who apply it to their head, especially because it's going to make, if you're applying it twice a day, you don't want to walk around with greasy looking hair. So you want something fast drying and higher quality. Like it's not like they're the same active drug, but for some reason Kirkland has not revised their vehicle to not be a greasy mess. So it is still excessively filled with propylene glycol to the point where it makes your facial hair and your hair on your head look absolutely disgusting. So if you want the high quality one, it's far more cost prohibitive, but it is, I promise you, way faster drying and looks actually like, not like a greasy piece of shit after you put it on. Or a better strategy might be to get the high quality one and the cheap greasy one, and use the greasy one like before going to bed. And then if you're going to go out in the daytime, you would use the high quality one like in the morning. So then you can get the best of both worlds and deal with the greasiness when you're not in public kind of thing. And that's sort of how I interplay Nizoral and high quality ketoconazole shampoo, by the way. Is the Nizoral is like very cost effective, whereas the super expensive ketoconazole that's in my video description, where the minoxidil is too for hair loss prevention, that one is more expensive, but it doesn't dry your hair out and make it look malnourished. So, you know, there's that sort of strategy for interplaying which day you're going to use it, or like when you use it. I think that makes a lot of sense for saving money and not looking like dog shit when you go out. So anyways, Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates, @moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below, as well as like, comment for the algorithm. I think I probably already said that, but it's appreciated when you guys do. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.